Welcome to the tour of my 2021 Christmas trees. I don't exactly know why I chose the number, but for the past 15 years I've been decorating 7 trees every year. Every tree will have a theme. I have themes that are based on movies that I love, like Wizard of Oz or 101 Dalmatians. I have themes based on color, location, animals, special events. I love the idea of living in a Christmas winter wonderland for a month and a half, but I really enjoy sharing these trees, so I hope you enjoy the tour. Tree number 1 of 7 is called the Diwali umbrella tree. I'm neither Indian or Hindu, but I love what Diwali stands for, a festival of lights, the lights protecting us from spiritual darkness. The umbrella tree came to me a few years ago from a friend who knows my love of Christmas decorating, and she sent me a photo of this fantastic tree. I think it was in the lobby of the Ritz-Carlton, and it was completely covered in gold and silver umbrella. I was also inspired by a friend of ours who's an artist named Kiyoshi, and his thing is painting these big colorful umbrellas. The one he gave us sits on the piano in this video. And all of that led me to the beautifully colored umbrellas that we saw when we were traveling in India. So I found this seller on eBay who makes these beautiful umbrellas, and I ordered 75 of them in 2 different sizes. Whenever I do a new theme, I'm often a little bit worried about it, but never so much as with this one. I had no idea if it was going to work technically. Umbrellas are hard to work with, never mind trying to shape them into Christmas tree shape. I also wasn't sure if the material was going to be translucent enough so that the Christmas lights would shine through. Otherwise, the tree could just look like one dark lump. But I think it turned out pretty good, so I was one happy elf. Tree number 2 of 7 I call the PASTEL FLORAL tree. This is a brand new tree for me this year, and the idea came from a magazine photo of a white tree that was covered in all these spring flowers. I think it was meant to be an Easter-themed tree. I like the idea of a pastel tree, especially to offset some of the season's typically darker, richer colors. One thing I learned doing this tree is that pastel Christmas decorations are not easy to come by. I hitched onto the floral idea, but I had to be vigilant. Pastel flowers aren't easy to come by at Christmas time. Now fortunately I do plan a year ahead, so I was able to shop for them last spring. I'm not a particularly crafty guy, so I'm especially proud of the floral tree skirt that I fashioned from these squares of flowers that I found in a store that was selling them this spring like squares of sod. Tree number 3 of 7 I'm calling the FLODBERG tree. Now every so often I combine 2 of my favorite things, decorating Christmas trees and art. Sometimes it's simply a happy coincidence, sometimes, like with this tree, it's on purpose. A beautiful piece by Calgary artist Chris FLODBERG called Burnt Landscape currently hangs in our foyer. I just love the colors. They're dark and moody, which I know isn't very Christmassy, but they're also hopeful and almost translucent. So I used a black tree as my canvas. See what I did there? Then I just simply added blues and greens, and voila, the FLODBERG tree. Tree number 4 of 7 is the 12 Days of Christmas tree. Now, I've done this tree once before in 2012, almost 10 years ago. Back then, I felt the tree was a bit overdone and needed some editing, so I was happy to give it a try again this year. One of the fun additions is the stork with the 5 golden rings that I have gliding over our dinner table. I found it the year after the tree was up last time, so I've been holding on to it for several years, and I'm glad to finally dust it off. Literally, it's been hanging in our furnace room for 9 years. To me, this is like a really fun, positive hobby that lasts all year. As soon as the trees get put up, I start thinking about and planning and collecting for next year's trees. But everything culminates in what I call Christmas tree decorating weekend. It's 2 days that are intense, busy, and I love every second of it. I usually wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and by noon I've already put in an 8-hour day of decorating. 5 of 7 is the Toy Story tree. Now, you would probably guess that I was inspired by the movies. In truth, a couple years ago my sister found the lunch boxes she and I and my dad, who is a teacher, used for school. It really struck a nostalgic chord with me, and I thought about doing a tree with a nostalgia theme. So this did lead me to the Toy Story movies, which at their core are about our collective nostalgia for childhood and the toys we played with. Again, not a crafty guide, but I did make those giant building blocks using cardboard boxes, which is cool because easy to fold up for storage. One of the things I learned in collecting for this tree is that not all toys are created equal when it comes to value. The character of Trixie, who I think was a rhinoceros, and Lenny, the binoculars, are very hard to find, and when you do, they are very expensive. So you won't see them on my tree. Last year when we were in lockdown, I decided that I wouldn't put up any trees, and I really missed it. So this year I decided, even though we still can't have the big parties and events that we might typically have during the season, I'm going back to decorating all my trees. Of 7 is the WHOVILLE tree. Now this tree I've done 3 times before this year. I think the first time was in 2008. I like WHOVILLE because there's a whimsy about it. Nothing is completely round or exactly straight or sensible. It's just a lot of fun. Every time I resurrect a tree, my goal is to elevate it in some way. I think the first time I put this one up, it really was more of a red and green themed tree with a few WHOVILLE-like decorations thrown in. A few years ago I began using backdrops for certain trees to help expand the world of the theme. They're kind of hard to come by and even harder to store without getting them all wrinkly. I've got to figure that out. Tree of this year, tree 7 of 7, is Cindy Lou's tree. Now occasionally I will do companion trees, which are 2 trees tied together by a single theme. This combination Grinch idea first struck me when I bought this snow-laden tree. Already having several concept-heavy trees this year, I liked the idea of doing a tree that was simple but beautiful, just a bunch of snow and a sprinkling of brightly colored decorations. But as you look closer, you realize the Grinch has been here and he is denuding this beauty just the way he did to poor Cindy Lou's tree in the movies, and every other Who tree. I love the juxtaposition of the classic serene beauty and that scraggly green arm. But Cindy Lou is doing her thing, and I'm pretty sure that old Grinch's heart is growing right this second. Thanks for watching this. I really hope that this brought you some joy, or maybe some good ideas about decorating your own trees. Merry Christmas, everyone.